and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective, with pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Thursday, February 24th, Ian Cameron, and we got Alex B. Smith back with us today, ready to break down the Thursday NHL card. 8 games on tap. Looking forward to it. Before we get into today's card, though, Alex wants to say a few things. Of course, we know there's been a lot on our good friend Alex's plate these last few months. If you've seen him on Twitter, we're not going to go into the details, but there was something that occurred involving Alex B. Smith. Very upsetting. It's why we were delayed in starting. When you're friends with someone, you're there for them, and you hear what they're going through, and that's what I was like with Alex just a few minutes ago. And Alex, I know you want to say a few things to all of our great Ice Guys family and all of our viewers and listeners. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Ian. I appreciate that. And yeah, that's the gist of what I said. I don't want to take too much time because we got 8 great games. So it's actually probably one of the best cards we've got to talk about in the last few weeks, if not the season. So definitely want to get into that. But I just want to say thank you to you, Ian, publicly. Like I said, we've been friends for years, but we've been colleagues as well. I want to say thanks to Jimmy and Andrew. I want to thanks to everybody who's watched the show through the Betcast, through the tweets, through Patreon, through all the different changes we've had to make over the years, and all the love and support that you guys have shown me. Obviously, like I said, there's been many of absences of mine on this program, with the last 3 months of being in Chicago, dealing with, my family and my father falling ill and passing away, losing a friend and a colleague in Brian Blessing, recently just losing a close friend here in St. Paul. It's been tough. And, people who know me well, Ian, you've known me, like I said, for over a decade. I'm dedicated to this craft. As a handicapper, as a gambler, as a writer and a podcaster, this is what I do. This is what I eat, sleep, and breathe every single day. And I do this for all of you guys. I do well on my own gambling, but it brings me joy to bring everyone content. And I just want to say thanks to everyone that's been really supportive. And we call this an Ice Guys family because it's exactly that, a family. Honor and loyalty are 2 things that I hold in high regard, and the loyalty that everybody has shown here. I just wanted to just say thanks. I'm sure this might be random for some people just tuning in and watching and haven't read my Twitter or my Facebook. There's more context that's there. And so I won't get into those details, but I just wanted to say that before we get into the show. Just thank you, Ian. Thank you, Ice Guys family. Thank you, everybody.
That's really well said, and that's what I love about our brand the most, the Ice Guys, in the 5 years now that we've been doing this show, is because when you're a radio DJ and you have callers, or you have a radio show often and you have callers, whether you're your local AM sports radio station, whether maybe you're Chris Russo, Mad Dog on Sirius XM, and you have callers and you have people that listen to the show every single day. Yeah, you talk to them on the phone when they call in, but you don't have that kind of human connection, that personal connection. And man, it feels like we have developed that here with the Ice Guys. That's why we use the word family. We see you. All of our viewers and listeners. We hear you. You're on our betcasts with us, usually on Tuesday. And speaking of which, there will be another one tonight, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. I will unfortunately be unavailable to attend it, but Andrew McInnis will be hosting it. So make sure you tune in for that and join the betcast tonight on a great Thursday card. And it is because, we treasure all our viewers and listeners like family. We're not here without you. We're not continuing to improve our ratings or improve our views and our podcast downloads without all of you. And I'm sure many of you have gone out of your way to tell people that love hockey and love betting about the show as well. And I'm sure that's helped as well. So we love each and every one of you. We mean that from the bottom of our heart. And Alex, you're right. We always have your back. We always will. And you're always going to be on this show. There's no personal matters or anything that's going to ever prevent you from having a place on the Ice Guys. So
I appreciate that.
There we go. So with that in mind, let's do what we do. Let's cap
Yes.
some games and let's try to make some money on this Thursday NHL
Definitely.
card. And we'll start with a really good one. We've got the Minnesota Wild taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. We've got the Leafs now down to a -140, -145 home favorite. They actually opened a little bit higher than this. So we've seen a little bit of money come in on the Minnesota Wild during the course of the day, 6.5 the total. It's a battle of two very good teams, but two kind of slumping teams at the moment, and two teams in desperate need of a win and some confidence. Once again, the Leafs off back-to-back losses to Montreal and Columbus. A lot of Leaf fans in distress that the teams that they've lost to in each of these last two games are the last two teams to knock them out of the playoffs, which was just a coincidence, if you ask me. But the bottom line is you lose to the Jackets, who actually, we'll get to them in a sec. They're playing a lot better, certainly on the offensive side of the puck they are. It's not a shame to lose to them, but the way they lost to Montreal before that, it was about as bad a defensive debacle as you could see from the Leafs in that game against Montreal. So we'll see if they're capable of bouncing back. Minnesota, they lost a couple in a row to Winnipeg and Florida, beat Chicago. Looked like they got back on track, but took another step back, losing to Ottawa on Tuesday. And of course, we had the Betcast Tuesday night. We were on the air with that game, and Ottawa gets the big upset against the Minnesota Wild the other night. So you've got two really good hockey teams that just aren't playing their absolute best right now. Minnesota will go to Kaapo Kähkönen in net. Not a surprise to me because Cam Talbot's been fighting the puck, battling his confidence a little bit. I think that's fair to say. A guy that really started the season very strong in goal for the Wild. Hasn't been that way lately. Peter Mrazek will get the start for the Leafs as Sheldon Keefe is committed, I think, to this flip-flop of his goaltenders. Campbell one game, Mrazek the next. You know, that's really been the pattern we've seen here as of right now. Of course, Jake Muzzin is out long-term. They put him on long-term injury reserve, the Leafs. So that is definitely a concerning absence. Jordan Greenway out for Minnesota. Mats Zuccarello, game-time decision tonight for the Wild with an upper body injury. And you look at trends here with these teams. I mean, Jack Campbell, the over streak continues. And that's really what I'm targeting in this game is the over here at 6.5. The last time these teams met earlier this year in St. Paul, it was 7 goals in the game. It ended 4-3. You know, I really think we get something similar here. This might be a decent draw opportunity as well in this game. When you talk about, I expect a competitive game, expect both teams to really bring it. But I think the Leafs right now, they're capable. They've been scoring goals in bunches at home. In particular, I've seen Minnesota at the defensive end of the ice look a little bit up and down. And even though Kähkönen's been a little bit more steady than Talbot, still 5 of his last 8 starts have trended over the total. Like I said, with Campbell, I believe it's 8 of his last 9 starts that have gone, or actually Mrazek tonight, my bad, but Mrazek too, his last start ended up going over the total as well. And he kind of struggled against Montreal as well. There were a couple goals I thought Peter Mrazek should have probably stopped in that game against Montreal. So right now it's 2 struggling teams, but I also expect 2 aggressive teams as a result. So I think it leads to goals early. You could even go first period over, but I like the full game over here at 6.5, -120 with the Wild and the Leafs. Alex, Minnesota, Toronto.
Yeah, we kind of teased it on the Betcast. You talked about how, you know, with the way that both these teams kind of, you know, fell apart on Tuesday, that this would be for a really interesting matchup, and it definitely lends itself to going over the total. We're seeing a 2. In fact, we're seeing a lot of 2s at the first period over here. So I grabbed 2 over 2 plus $1.10, but for a half a unit, because I'm going to try to grab the other half a unit adjusted pricing game. Usually with 2s, from what I've seen so far, we've had about maybe a week and a half of 2s consistently. You'll see it open. Obviously, it'll go 2, and then within 90 seconds of the game, you're going to see 1.5 over -200. And then you're going to start seeing it drop. And usually it's increments of, it usually goes from, let's say, 208 to 159 to 141. And then all of a sudden you start seeing $1.25, $1.20, and so forth. So that's kind of, I've been trying to track how exactly this algorithm that certain books use knocks it down. That's what I've seen so far. So I already played a half unit on over 2. I'm guessing that we could easily get 4 goals in this first period. I see this, and somebody joked about, could we have possibly seen a 10 if it was Talbot and the Mrazek? Yeah, we probably would have seen a 7 juice to the over, honestly, with those 2 goalies, the way that these defenses have been at times, and the fact that they both are coming off of a loss. These are good teams off of a loss. We should see nothing but high scoring action, but I'm going to go half unit on the over 2 and get the other half in adjusted in game with the over in the first period. As far as the side goes, I would lean toward Minnesota. I like how Kakanen's done in net. Obviously, he seems to be the guy. Quietly, he is 12-3-2 on the season with a 2.59 goals against, a 921 save percentage. It's really possibly an audition for him to take over this number one spot moving forward. He had a great rookie campaign. He's definitely not having a sophomore slump of a season. He's given up some soft goals, but nothing like what we saw from Talbot the other night or even in the last couple of starts. So if I had to play a side, I would go with Minnesota here at the dog, but I like that first period over a bit more, split between 1.5 and 2.
All right, 1.5, 2, split line on the first period over. I think Zuccarello is playing too. I know KP and Terry, our resident Wild fan, are hopefully, because he did practice yesterday. Usually if you're practicing the day before the game, you're got a good chance to play the next
Dean
night.
Evison said during the post-game conference after the Ottawa, said it was a shoulder injury and that they fully expect him to play tonight. At that point, that was literally 25 minutes after the game ended. So he should be a go tonight.
Yeah. I would expect him to be in there. I'm sure, obviously, tested at the morning or pregame skate rather, but I'm sure it's a pretty good chance. I think we end up seeing him on the ice tonight, and that's important for the Wild because of how he's played. You know, he's had 52 points this year, 17 and 35 for 52 points for Zuccarello. 5-game point streak before he missed the game Tuesday against Ottawa. So he's been an important catalyst for the Wild and very important. They'd love to see him back. I think he will play when push comes to shove tonight for the Minnesota Wild. All right, Washington Capitals, New York Rangers. We've got the Rangers minus 120, home favorites, 6 being the total here, shaded to the under in this one. You look at the Capitals, long layoff for them, and we've talked about how that's been a bit of a concern for some teams. Even Tampa Bay last night. Sometimes you win in spite of a layoff and in spite of playing poorly. That was kind of like Tampa Bay last night. They didn't really play that great, I thought, against Edmonton. They had a lot of good bounces, a lot of good puck luck. They certainly got a weaker than you would want performance from Mike Smith in net. I thought a couple of those goals he could have had. It's not like we saw a terrific performance from the Tampa Bay Lightning last night off the 1-week layoff. So what will you get here from Washington, who's in the exact same boat, coming off back-to-back wins against Nashville and Philly prior to the 1-week break? They've actually won 3 of their last 4, so played a little bit better. You would think that maybe the break allows them to get Oshie back, but that's still not the case. He's still going to be out until the early part of March, the earliest case scenario for him to return. Same with Anthony Mantha. Nick Backstrom had a personal matter, but it looks like he is going to be back and in the lineup tonight for Washington for this game. On the other side, you've got the New York Rangers, who are trying to get on a little bit of a roll themselves, and they certainly are showing signs of it. 4 wins in their last 5 games, including a very impressive win against Florida. They beat Ottawa, Detroit, Boston in their last 3 games. Very, very close games, all of them. 1-goal games now in 3 straight. For the New York Rangers, winning 2 of them and then losing in a shootout to the Detroit Red Wings as well. Washington and the Rangers, believe it or not, you would think by now they've played more than just once against each other this season, but that is indeed the case. Just the one head-to-head meeting this year. Previously, 5-1 in favor of the Washington Capitals in that game. To me, there's still enough of a gap with these 2 teams and the concerns off the layoff for the Capitals going into this game that, look, it was 2-1 Tampa Bay against Edmonton last night with the Lightning in the first period, after their long layoff. But if you watch that first period, Edmonton was controlling the play. They had the more shots, the more chances, and a couple of bounces went Tampa's way and ended up in the back of the net. It was really not a great first period for Tampa Bay last night coming off that layoff. I think it could be that similar thing. So for the Washington Capitals here. So what I'm going to do here is a split bet with the New York Rangers minus 120 first period money line, and also the full game money line at that same minus 115, minus 120 price. I do think we're getting a bit of a rebate here, maybe because the Rangers have just done enough to win lately, and maybe it's because they've been in a lot of close games, and Washington's now won a couple in a row that we're going to give the Washington Capitals a whole boatload of respect here in the price for this game. But to me, I like the Rangers here a little bit. I think this is as good a value price as we've seen for the New York Rangers in quite some time. So I'm going to do a split bet, first period, full game money line with the New York Rangers here. Alex, Capitals, Rangers.
I talked about the Rangers a while back, and I mentioned about how I like this team right now and the form that they're in. Not so much that I like their form, but I like looking at the draw option with this team. They've been playing a lot of close games. We saw them had back-to-back shoot with three of the last 8 games have gone to a shootout. And of those ones that didn't, I think 3 of those were 1-goal decisions. So when you look at that, this is a team that's playing tight hockey right now. They're playing the team that's trying to catch up to them in the division in Washington. And this is the time of year where we talk about it. I'll probably say it 10,000 more times between now and the end of the season about how points are at a premium. And when you have these games, this screams to me, just like Dallas-Winnipeg last night, a 3-point kind of game. This is a game I love to draw with at plus 325. I would lean with the Rangers. I think they're playing better overall hockey than Washington, and they have a game under their belt. Washington's been off for some time. Maybe this is where we look at, and we talked about this kind of in the bet cast the other night too, the double chance. Maybe look at Rangers and draw as a possible play. You can get a much better price for that pregame than you can adjust it in-game. But if there's a night to take a kind of prop like that, this would definitely be the spot. But I'm just going to stay with the draw and make that official. I got that this morning at plus 325.
All right, plus 325 for the draw, Capitals and Rangers. And that has been the Rangers' MO, playing just, tight games. When they get a lead, really shut it down, rely on your defending, your ability to shut it down in your own zone, rely on, obviously, a guy that's had one of the best seasons of any goaltender in the NHL, and Igor Shesterkin as well, who I would expect to be in net tonight. Nothing's been confirmed yet, by the way, here in terms of starting goaltenders for this game. We have projections for Samsonov and Shesterkin as of right now. But that is it. This is ESPN, by the way. Just a note, this is national television tonight. ESPN, Bob Wischusen and Brian Boucher on ESPN. So make sure you keep that in mind. It is a national game, Capitals and Rangers. All right, we move on now to the next one, Columbus and Florida. We've got Florida minus 450, home favorites. You can get plus 330, on Columbus. A pretty good price for a team that's lighting it up at the moment. Total 7. In this game. And not only has it gone from 6.5, it did open actually 6.5 last night and overnight, but it quickly got bet up to 7. And now, Alex, we're seeing 7s heavily juiced. I'm seeing minus 125, minus 130. I've never seen anything like this. Usually when we get to 7, there's immediate resistance, immediate buyback on the under. At least the juice comes down or it goes back to 6.5. We just haven't seen that with this game. And I don't blame the reluctance. I don't blame anyone for the reluctance to look under the total in this game with these two teams right now. I jumped on this overnight, Alex. I knew I had to because I know the 6.5s were disappearing. So I actually have a 6.5 at minus 130 in pocket on this Jackets Florida total to the over, of course. Would I recommend it 7 juiced? I'd still lean that way. You're not going to see me recommending the under here. I mean, the Jackets are a scoring machine. Patrick Laine, he's just someone to ride for goal scorer props right now. Confidence is back. And you know what I've noticed too, Alex? He's posting a lot more on Instagram here the last few days, Patrick Laine, the last week or so. You can tell he's feeling good right now when that happens. You're feeling good about your own game. The team's starting to play a little bit better. You're scoring goals. The team is scoring goals. You're winning games. Let's not look past the fact that Columbus is 8-2 in the last 10 games. And it might be the quietest 8-2 we've seen in a 10-game stretch for any team right now in the NHL. Here's the problem, though. They've played Florida twice, and they have shown this year, and they have shown no ability. None, 0 to defend this Florida Panthers team. They have not. They gave up 8 in the one game against Florida, 8-4 in Columbus, and then they gave up 9 goals the last time they were down here in Florida and lost 9-2. And now you got to rely on this journeyman goaltender, JF Berube, in net for a 3rd straight game. Although to his credit, did all right against the Leafs the other night. Actually, it was a better performance out of him. But man, I wouldn't want to be him tonight. You've still got a team that's given up goals, given up shots, giving up chances. Columbus did give up 42 shots the other night against Toronto. So that's absolutely concerning. I think a Berube over saves prop. I love that prop tonight. I'm not a big goalie saves guy when it comes to props, but Florida 2 off a loss to Nashville the other night. So you would expect them to really be not taking Columbus for granted tonight after losing the Predators. That's a team that's not used to losing games at home, that saw that lead slip away against the Predators as we were on the betcast the other night. I'd expect Florida to really be lighting the lamp, or at least be putting a lot of pressure on this still undermanned, not that great, not that strong. They're a turnover machine in their own zone. I know Vito has said that a bunch of times with us on this show, that they're a turnover machine waiting to happen. And now they have Zach Werenski out as well. One of their more stable veteran blue liners. He's going to be out for at least the next couple games with an upper body injury for Columbus. So this screams like an opportunity for Florida to just pepper the Columbus net with a ton of shots, ultimately probably a bunch of goals as well. But I think you can count on Columbus to contribute a little bit. Look what the Jackets have done. Last 3 games, 7, 7, and 4. 18 goals in the last 3 games combined. So this is one of those games where you've got to get creative now with the total of 7. Do you go with an over 2 in this game in the first period now? Because that's what it is. It's 2 at even money pretty much across the board. You know what I like, and I know Chris Otto is someone that's bets this a lot. I've started betting it quite a bit as well, and I had it with Buffalo and Columbus on Sunday. Both teams to score first period. You still get a plus price. I saw as high as plus 140 with that just a couple of hours ago. I think that is phenomenal. A phenomenal bet in this game tonight. Not just good, phenomenal bet. Plus 140, both teams to score first period. I think that is a terrific positive expectation bet if I've ever seen one in a game like this between the Jackets and Panthers. Alex, what do you think here, Columbus, Florida?
Yeah, this game is just it's interesting for so many reasons. Obviously, we talk about the heavy favorites, Florida being minus 450. It makes total sense. They're one of the best teams in hockey, and the dominance they've had against Columbus, not just this season, but going back, they're 9-0-1 in the last 10 meetings against the Jackets. So it makes total sense. They're heavy favorites. Seeing this total from 6.5 to 7, and we might see 7.5. Like you said, for us to see juice on the over at 7. And I mentioned about the first period over. We're seeing it 2 minus $1.20. I've never seen that in the entire time I've been tracking this first period of the overs. And we've been seeing on the first day we saw a 2 pop up anywhere in the world. I have yet to have seen where it wasn't 2 plus $1.10 plus $1.05 even money. To see it be where you're laying $1.20 on 2 just tells you all you need to know about this game. And then this is a game that should be exciting to watch. Probably not even that exciting to bet unless you're really picking on certain things. And I'm right there with you with that both teams to score. I grabbed that plus $1.35. I know that may not be available for everybody everywhere, but if you can make arrangements to grab that, I would definitely do so. I think this is going to be an up and down track meet. Like I said, Columbus is finding ways to score goals. Like I said, quietly they've won 8 of their last 10, but at the same time, who's stopping Florida right now? To use the old Wendy's slogan, "Where's the beef? Where's the defense?" This game could easily be over this total of 7 in the first 20 minutes if they keep playing based on the trends we've seen over the last few games. It should be a ton of shots galore. I wouldn't even look at a save prop for either goaltender, because if things get chaotic, who knows, what's the leash on Berube? He's played 3 games in a row. If he gives up 3 goals on 10 shots, and then he's out of there, now you're kind of screwed with that prop. So that, like I said, I don't dabble that much in that. No, Andrew's gotten really big in that. You've done that as well. But that's the one thing that kind of scares me for some of these save props. Yeah, he's going to see a high volume of rubber, but if he sees too much too soon, to use another movie reference, then maybe, he gets pulled and it's going to be Jet Greaves as the backup. I'm not really familiar with him. I know he's had some time with Kalamazoo in the East Coast and the Cleveland Club in the AHL. But certainly, he doesn't seem like he's going to be – he's basically like the 6th, string goalie. This guy's not going to be ready to stop the onslaught that is the Florida Panther offense. So, overs make sense in every sense of the way, but I went with both teams to score as well, plus 135. Oh, maybe you have time to grab 1.5 at an adjusted price. I don't know. We might see a goal in the first 30 seconds. Someone told me there's a book that was testing whether there be a goal in the first 90 seconds. Maybe this is the game to bet that.
Yeah, exactly. That could be because it could be a goal very early, and then the onslaught continues from there. Or you know what? I've seen games like this too, where everybody's expecting a goal fest, and it actually
It's
takes 15
scoreless
or
after
20
20
minutes
minutes.
to get going, but then it explodes in the second
Right,
period and in
exactly.
the third period,
Yeah.
which that I could see that happening as
And you
well.
know what? And with that being said, you might have trouble betting this game live.
Yeah.
If you see where there's not a lot of offense in the first 5 to 10 minutes, you're probably going to see the first period overlocked, because this happened briefly when we were on the betcast tonight. You'll probably see the first period overlocked, and you might even see that full game total either locked or unwilling to move, because the books know they have to have kind of protection for the liability of what's going to happen in the other 40 minutes of play.
Yeah, definitely. And Jack Greaves, by the way, 4-6, 3.1 goals against, 898 save percentage in Cleveland in the AHL this year. So
They
that's
really don't
not.
want to turn to him.
Yeah, no, exactly. JF Berube is actually a little superior to that, although that's not saying a whole lot. He was obviously struggled a little against Buffalo. Toronto, he was better. Can he do it on the road now against an angry Florida team, though? Because you would expect Florida's ready tonight after losing. That being said, I mean, plus 330 on Columbus. I looked at that price, and I'm like, man, this team's 8-2 in their last 10 games. They're plus 330 in this game. How can you not take a small dabble? I'm tempted, but I just get the sense Florida's off a loss at home, where they've still only lost 4 times all year. Still a gaudy home record. The Florida Panthers coming into this game, it's difficult to go again. 23-4, at home this year, and I'm pretty damn sure they haven't lost back-to-back home games this year. So that's the problem with taking that shot, maybe with that big plus number. With the Columbus Blue Jackets. Lots of props for players. I'll just throw them out, a bunch of them, and just name players and shots on goal to score a goal is what I'd look at with them. Mason Marchment, it goes without saying, for Florida, because he actually did score that big game against Columbus at a great price. He's getting more opportunities. That's a good prop. Bennett for Florida's, I think, probably a solid way to go. Barkov for shots on goal in a game like this. He usually is able to get to over 3.5 shots on goal. That wouldn't surprise me. For Columbus, you know who it is. It's Patrick Laine, over shots on goal to score a goal. Bjorkstrand's not a bad option right now for the Jackets. He started to get going, of course, lately for them as well. Boone Jenner's an option, but definitely focus in more on Patrick Laine for sure. What he's been doing has been pretty damn impressive for the Columbus Blue Jackets in recent games, and we will see if he can keep that going. He's now on a 10-game point streak, and that's 12 goals and 8 assists for Laine in the last 10 games. So absolutely to look at him as in terms of shots and as well as to score a goal. I think a must, because I've been on that twice in a row with the Jackets. Probably worth a look again here. New Jersey and Pittsburgh. We've got Pittsburgh minus 275 home favorites. The total 6.5 here in this game. This is more of a props game for me. Obviously, with the Devils, they are going to get a couple of key cogs back. Remember, Andreas Janssen was out. Looks like he might return. Jesper Bratt. It looks like he could be out as well, or back as well tonight for the New Jersey Devils. That would be good news for them going into this game. We'll see if they're able to show both return. Both of them currently probable, but not for sure. Dougie Hamilton is for sure back tonight for the New Jersey Devils in this game against Pittsburgh. They've missed him. Obviously, he's been one of their top 4 defensemen all season long. So being able to get him back, certainly a big deal for the New Jersey Devils. And by the way, I'm already looking at Dougie Hamilton's shots on goal prop. You have to lay some juice. It's about minus 150, over 2.5, but he's gone over that number in 7 of the last 10 games prior to his absence. So it's just someone that does get a lot of rubber fired toward the net, Dougie Hamilton. We saw prior to his injury absence, we saw 3-4-3, 4-4-4-5, and then they had the one game where he had no shots on goal, but that was the game he got injured. 2 minutes into the game against Washington, he got injured. So you throw that one out, essentially. You don't put that in the data because he was out of the game in just 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Prior to that, we saw Dougie Hamilton with 5-4-4-4-3-4-3 shots on goal in 7 straight games prior to the game he got injured. So to me, over 2.5, even if he got to lay minus 150 on that, it's a very good prop in my mind for Hamilton tonight. As far as the total goes, look, 6.5 with New Jersey seems like you could look over, but it's not as easy to do that with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh does sometimes play low-scoring games. Tristan Jarry capable, obviously, of playing well. When you look at recent series meetings head-to-head, a lot of sixes, a lot of games landing right on 6, a lot of 4-2s, a lot of 5-1s, not a lot of games clearing that 6.5. And I remember with this New Jersey-Pittsburgh matchup, I remember betting some 5.5s and betting a lot of 6s and not seeing as many 6.5s like this. So it's probably a game I pump the brakes on from a total standpoint. From a side perspective, New Jersey is, again, a team that's been capable offensively, but we worry about them at the defensive end, kind of like with Columbus right now, and their goaltending. It looks like they're still going to be without Bernier and Blackwood, which means it's John Gillies and Nico Dawes for the foreseeable future at this point in time. So at this point, maybe I'd lean a little bit to Pittsburgh's team total, but even then it's minus 155. And I've seen Pittsburgh in games like this sometimes just win 2-1, 3-1 as well. So it's going to be a pass. Other than a few props, like I say, Dougie Hamilton over shots on goal, Jesper Bratt to score a goal, perhaps for New Jersey if he plays, because that was something I was betting, and his shots on goal prop as well. Bratt to score a goal was definitely a go-to for me prior to his injury. So that's something to consider. And as far as Pittsburgh goes from a prop standpoint, you look at who's been carrying them offensively lately. You're not getting great value on him to score, but Brian Rust, 6 of the last 10 games, he's at least scored a goal for the Penguins. That's not a bad way to go, in my opinion. So Brian Rust has definitely been feeling it lately for the Penguins. Alex, what do you think here, New Jersey, Pittsburgh?
This is a classic live game, and thankfully, like I said, we got the betcast tonight. Andrew will be hosting. This definitely screams like wait and see. You get 5.5. You might even be able to get 1.5 adjusted in game, and both of those should cash. Obviously, the Devils, their goaltending situations, amongst the worst in the league right now with Dawes and Gillies. That's just not a tandem that. You really can't even trust an AHL team to win most nights with those guys, to be honest. So, looking at that, and like I said, Pittsburgh can be a team that kind of slows things down. Control. If they have full control of the tempo, yeah, it probably would be a 3-1, 3-2 game. But at the same time, the way New Jersey's been playing defensively and with their goaltending, Pittsburgh can stumble and hit 4 goals in the blink of an eye. So this definitely screams like an over game. But do not play 6.5. Do not lay 2. Definitely get these adjusted in game with full game in first period.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that because a lot of these situations, and boy, do we illustrate this perfectly on the betcast the other night and even the other 2 Tuesdays, where you just get that 5-minute lull, no goals in the beginning of the game, and look at the difference that makes in terms of getting a better total drops a full goal in a lot of these instances, and at the very least you get a better price. So definitely good to keep that in mind. As far as first period overs go, I know from a New Jersey standpoint, this was definitely a team heavily trending toward first period overs. Yeah, 8-2. Problem is Pittsburgh not so much in the last 10 games to the first period over. So as much as I've been looking at those New Jersey first period overs, you're playing a team that's been kind of going the other way in terms of first period totals. So interesting contrast there with the Devils and Penguins. All right, Dallas and Nashville. We've got the Predators minus 150 home favorites, 5.5 the total. In this game, Stars find a way against the Winnipeg Jets. Last night, they were trailing multiple times in that game, down 1-0, down 2-1. They end up tying it, and they end up winning it on a very weird goal in overtime. They had to review it. They had to make sure the stick was below the crossbar. They had to make sure the puck had clearly crossed the goal line. It did, and Tyler Seguin gets that goal to give Dallas a 3-2 overtime win. So now second of back-to-back games for the Stars tonight on the road. They're 4-4 in that situation, by the way, this year, Dallas, on the second night of back-to-back games. The Nashville Predators, who we talked about prior to their game against Florida, hard to trust them. They had lost every game since the All-Star break. 4 straight losses prior to the break. They lost 4-3 at Dallas to begin their schedule post-All-Star break. Then they lost at home to Winnipeg 5-2, lost to Washington at home 4-1, lost to Carolina 5-3, although I thought they played better against the Hurricanes. You could see that there's a little bit of improvement in that game, even though they lost. And then they really showed some resilience. As Darren Pang, you'd hear him last night on TNT, would often say some gumption. They showed that last game against Florida, down 3-1 at one point in that game. They ended up coming all the way back, and they ended up getting the 6-4 win. Florida took the lead. They had a goal disallowed in that game that kept Florida in the lead 4-3, and they answered right back. Nashville tied the game and pulled out a very impressive 6-4 win, not only beating Florida, but beating them in their building, which is obviously not something that has happened to the Panthers very often this year, losses on home ice. So give Nashville credit. Now, a lot of times you would think, well, let down, right, after a big win like that. Sometimes when you're on a little bit of a skid like that, you win a game like that, gives you actually some confidence next time out. And certainly schedule-wise, they've got the edge here with the day off, unlike Dallas. And a little bit of a short turnaround rapid revenge situation because they lost to Dallas just recently, 4-3 in Dallas against the Stars. And you could argue that Nashville, was pretty much played Dallas dead even in that game as well. So I like the Nashville side a little bit here, and I'm going to look toward them here at in regulation. Not so much the -150, but we'll get them down to a better price at around, it looks like, +105, +110 even in some spots in regulation. I like that with Nashville here. I think they actually build on that. I think that's a confidence builder. I think that's like, wow, maybe we can use that to rally around that win against Florida and maybe help turn our season around. Because when you go into Florida, beat them and put 6 goals on them, I think that's pretty solid. So Nashville in regulation for me. And I do have a smaller bet on the over here at 5.5 just because of Nashville's recent oversurge, which has been very, very real. They've gone over the total in 5 of their last 6 games. We've seen since the All-Star break 4-3, 5-2, 5-3, 6-4. Only one game stayed below 6 goals, and that was the 4-1 game against Washington. So I do like the over here. Value at 5.5 with the way Nashville games are trending, and I like Nashville in regulation as well. Alex, Dallas, Nashville.
Yeah, I like this first period over here. That was a trend we were riding with Dallas for a while. And maybe it can cool off and regress, but like I said, Nashville's been an over team with first period and full game. So only laying $1.10 or $1.15, I think there's great value in that. One thing to note, and I don't know if you mentioned it, that tonight, this is the Pekka Rinne retirement night in Nashville. And this is the first jersey.
Forgot. Yeah.
The first jersey in Predators history to be retired. I mean, he's literally been the face of that franchise forever. I remember going to Wolves games when he was a rookie with the Milwaukee Admirals and watching him, and everybody was kind of raving and saying, this guy's going to be the real deal. And he had a terrific career, probably one of the best goalies in the league to never win a ring when it's all, that's all said and done. But this is going to be a raucous crowd. And obviously this is Nashville's last game before they have their outdoor game as well. So there's a lot going on with a lot of buzz. And for them to get that win against Florida and snap that streak, I think there's a lot of positive momentum right now in that Predator locker room. And it's going to transfer out and into that crowd. Normally, we've been seeing a trend of home teams in ceremony games not doing too well. I don't think that's the case here tonight. I think Nashville gets it done in regulation. So I take a shot with Nashville. I see even money in regulation, and I also like that first period over laying $1.10.
You do the math on some of these goal scorer props, by the way, in this game. I'm talking about 3 players in particular here. We're seeing Tyler Seguin, who got the winner last night in overtime, plus 285, plus 300 in some spots to score a goal tonight. And he's scored in 4 of the last 10 games for the Dallas Stars. Jamie Benn, plus 320. He's also scored in 4 of the last 10 games for Dallas. Tanner Jeannot has scored in 4 of the last 10 for Nashville, and he's over plus 300. So if you do the math, these guys are scoring in almost half of their recent 10 games, and you're getting better prices than maybe the odds should be on a lot of those guys. Jeannot, Ben, Seguin, those 3 in particular stand out. And credit to Cheshire Cat. Never mind what people say about you, Cheshire Cat. You were a phenomenal guest the other day. You killed it with your picks. You were phenomenal. You gave us tons. You gave us Jeannot, and you gave us Trennan from Nashville to score a goal. Crazy bargain bin goal scorer props at huge prices.
Yeah, very well
both came
done.
in.
Yeah.
Very well done. So don't worry about it. You did a great job, no matter what anyone says. And I think it's worth it to maybe look at Jeannot again for sure for Nashville tonight. Very good bargain, in my opinion, at that number. You can get plus 310, plus 325 for him to score a goal for the Predators tonight. And, of course, we saw him find the twine the other night against the Florida Panthers in that victory. And keep in mind, even though he's on that third line, not the top 6 forwards, you can argue that third line's been every bit impressive offensively as Granlund, Duchesne, and Forsberg. And even at times they've been better than the Cunnin, Johansson, and Tomasino second line. So Trennan, Sissons, and Jeannot, yeah, that's sort of a pseudo hybrid checking line as well, but they've been offensively chipping in for Nashville. So definitely something to look at there. And as far as shots on goal, just have a brief look here. Is there anything of big time value? Perhaps Matt Duchene, simply because at home he's actually, I think, gone over his shot props a little bit more often. Yeah, maybe a Duchene prop over 2.5 at -130 for him for shots on goal. All right, next up we've got Calgary and Vancouver. Interesting matchup here. Calgary -160, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. So I took my one shot going against Calgary on that great run that they're on. Took Winnipeg just because I thought it was a little overpriced on Cal. Got my money's worth out of it, even though it didn't cash. Winnipeg was 1-1 late in the third period, and it was Elias Lindholm deflection goal to give Calgary the lead 2-1, a lead they would not relinquish as they end up beating Winnipeg 2-1. The other on Monday. It was that afternoon game on President's Day. We'll see if they can roll along here. It's been a terrific run. No question for the Flames, this 10-game win streak. They've held teams to 2 goals or less in 9 of the 10 games. They're absolutely rolling right now. All facets of their game. Their power play has been terrific. Their penalty kill has been very strong. Their offense is coming together. That's cooled off a little bit the last couple games. 3-1, by the way, it ended with Winnipeg. They got an empty net goal. But it's cooled off a little bit for them offensively, but still, I mean, they're doing much better at that end of the ice lately. They've played good defense. Special teams has been strong, and Jacob Markstrom has been very strong in net. And you've got the added element of Jacob Markstrom probably against his former team here playing the Vancouver Canucks. Now, he's played them before, obviously, but he's always, I'm sure, going to get a little extra fired up here to play Vancouver. The Canucks, they've won 3 of their last 4, kind of perked up again after a little bit of their first swoon under Bruce Boudreau, beating Toronto, San Jose, and beating Seattle in their last game. They had that miserable game against Anaheim. They got behind early, and they never got out of the hole that they dug themselves. But still, they're playing a little bit better recent games. Are they ready, though, to take on Calgary and defeat Calgary now? That is another question entirely going into this game. But for me, I'm looking at the same things I'm always interested in for Calgary games lately. It's Michael Backlund over shots on goal. 2.5 has been a routine casher for him lately. Elias Lindholm to score a goal. It's very difficult to not bet that right now on this incredible goal-scoring streak that he's on right now. What is it? 8 straight games with a goal for Elias Lindholm. Yep, 8 straight games, looking to make it 9 going into this matchup tonight against the Vancouver Canucks. And he might get it tonight because the one thing about the Canucks is we've seen their defensive play kind of go back downhill a little bit, and Thatcher Demko's not been necessarily at his absolute best the last few games either for Vancouver. So main things I'd look at here, more so than a side, I lean Calgary in regulation. Not sure if I'm going to actually bet it, but I would lean a little bit here toward Michael Backlund over 2.5 shots on goal. Elias Lindholm is still plus 175 in some spots to score tonight. And here's a guy that's scored in 8 straight. So I still think it's pretty good value here in this one. Flames in regulation for me. Don't really have a strong opinion on the total. 5.5 always makes me lean over, but I'm not sure I'm going to do anything but lean with that. Alex, Calgary, Vancouver.
This is going to be an aesthetically pleasing matchup to watch. The Vancouver is going back to their throwback skate jerseys tonight. So see that with the old Flames kind of road look, that's going to be pretty cool to watch. But as far as what we see on the actual ice, I mean, Calgary is just a juggernaut right now. And like I said, for as great of a future I had with the under and the Arizona Coyotes points, that clearly has been made up for me taking the under with Calgary. That looks like a horrific bet at this point right now. Already at 66 points, they should sail over 92 at this rate. And I have them in regulation here tonight as well. Vancouver just can't get their footing, under them. They can't bring this consistent game of hockey right now, where Calgary just seems to be an absolute juggernaut. And home or road, they really aren't fazed by much. So they should take care of business within 60 minutes. Only land $1.15. I like them in regulation.
Right, there we go. Calgary in regulation here for Alex. And this one, as far as, let me just see here. Yeah, but it looks like, Calgary in regulation is close to even money here in this one. So pretty good price. And like I said, I certainly lean that way. it's just Vancouver's pretty fun. Vancouver was able to rise up and beat Toronto at home recently. That's the one thing that always stands out in the back of my mind. They did beat a pretty good Leaf team recently on home ice, although they needed Demko to be absolutely heroic in that game to win it. I remember he absolutely was phenomenal and made 40 saves, 50 saves even, I believe, in that game. So he had to be terrific to win that game, and he might have to be just as good tonight against Calgary with the way the Flames are playing at the moment. All right, we've got Boston and Seattle, Bruins and Kraken. Boston minus 155, road favorites in the Emerald City. Minus 215 rather. That should be higher than that. We got a bad job by the editor and producer here, which is also me, and putting the wrong price there. It's minus 215 on Boston, plus 175 on Seattle. There we go. Total 5.5 now across the board. So this is not a game I'm going to get involved in really, other than maybe a lean to Boston team total over 3.5, because we did see the offense bust out against Colorado in a very impressive 5-1 victory at home against the Colorado Avalanche. And, even with, and obviously, by the way, the big news is Brad Marchand is expected to be back tonight. His suspension's over. So this should be back tonight for the Boston Bruins. He wasn't a participant, though, in practice yesterday, apparently, though, for personal reasons. So it makes you think he actually might miss this game again, but it's not going to be because of the suspension. It could be because of something else. So when you look at this spot here, even without Marchand, you definitely saw the Bruin offense come to life the other night. And the one thing the Kraken are struggling to do is keep opposing teams from finding the back of the net. And I think Alex would agree. This is the one thing that kind of has surprised us in a negative with Seattle. We thought the foundation of this team was going to be goaltending, defense, keep games low scoring, give themselves a chance, and that just hasn't happened. I mean, we've just seen this team way too many times give up 5 goals or more to their opponent. And just look at the last several games for Seattle. 6 to Toronto, 5 to Winnipeg, 5 to Vancouver, 5 allowed to the New York Islanders the other night at home, which tells you how really bad things are at the moment for the Kraken. The only game they held an opponent to less than 5 goals the last 5 games, the Kraken, was Calgary. And don't be fooled by the 2-1 score that night. I mean, there were a couple of posts. There was a couple of wide open nets that were missed by the Calgary Flames in that game. I think it was one of Philip Grubauer's better games of the entire season in net. Could have easily scored 4 or 5 or even 6 Calgary in that game. A lot of bad puck luck. A lot of high danger chances they had, Calgary. They just couldn't finish in that game. So I haven't bet anything yet, but I've got my radar on this Boston team total over 3.5. That might be the move I make when it comes to this game between the Bruins and the Kraken. Alex, Boston, Seattle.
I might play this full game over if I play anything with it. That just seems to be screaming at me because Seattle's letting in 5 goals a night on their own. Like I said, Boston finally getting things, turned up offensively. That was a great outing, like I said, against Colorado. But at the same time, flying cross country after that, even though you've had a couple of days off, that's I've always heard that's one of the toughest trips to make. It's literally the longest flight you can make in the country, going from Boston to Seattle. So you wonder if that does kind of factor in a little bit. Maybe Seattle gets that first goal and Boston kind of wakes up from there. So the over is what's screaming at me. Obviously, can't look at anything with a side or even a regulation laying 215 with Boston. And I haven't backed Seattle. I can't tell you last time I had Seattle money line in any form or fashion. So I'm staying away from the side. I'll probably be on this over 5.5.
This might be a Jake DeBrusk game for me for a goal scorer prop because he's a streaky player. Jimmy Murphy has said that a bunch of times with us in talking about the Bruins, that usually when he scores one, he can score a bunch. At least score in a couple, a couple more goals in a short condensed period of time. So you could end up seeing, and he scored against the Colorado Avalanche in that 5-1 victory Monday afternoon. So he's one of those players. Like a lot of games, you can't find him with the telescope, the proverbial Ian Cameron saying. And then other games, all of a sudden, he'll start to find the back of the net, and just all of a sudden, multiple games, you'll see him contribute offensively. But you know why they won against Colorado? Not only was it a complete team game, but Charlie Coyle scores a goal. Jake DeBrusk scores a goal. Those are 2 critical players to step up for the Boston Bruins. Help out Patrice Bergeron, help out David Pastrnak. And Pastrnak, I'm never going to say don't bet him to score right now. Pastrnak is definitely got it rolling right now. He actually leads the NHL in goals scored since the start of the calendar year. since January 1st, 2022. David Pastrnak is leading the NHL in goals. So he has definitely been a completely different player. He scored now in back-to-back games, 3 goals, 4 points in the last 2 games. You look at it, and shots on goal, by the way, you got to take the shots on goal right now with him too. 8, 3, 3, 4, and 8 shots in the last game against Colorado. So definitely Pastrnak in some form, whether it's to score, even though it's only plus 140, or his shots on goal, which is 3.5 at minus, again, 3.5, and it's juiced a little bit, minus 150. But man, he should get to 4. He's certainly been getting to 4 shots on goal a lot in recent games. All right, the final game of this Thursday card, we've got the New York Islanders taking on the San Jose Sharks. Islanders in this game currently sitting at minus 135, road favorites in the Shark Tank. The total in this one currently 5.5, pretty much across the board in this one. The Sharks, now this is going to put me to the test tonight, this game, because I've said that the New York Islanders are a fade for me. Or sorry, the Sharks, I should say, are a fade for me. Every single game from here on out. And I've been betting against them every single game since the All-Star break. And sure enough, they've rewarded me every single time. Now, their effort against Anaheim was pretty good the other night, but at the end of the day, they lose once again, 4-3 in a shootout. We've now seen this team go 0-4 since the break, shut out by Edmonton, lose in overtime to Vancouver, lose 4-1 to Vegas, lose 4-3 in a shootout to Anaheim. So this team is definitely struggling right now. Make no mistake about it. James Reimer is really seeing his play decline significantly and sharply. It has been a huge tumble for him in terms of his performance in net, really since Christmas break is when the downturn began for not only this team, but James Reimer in net as well. He's already confirmed in net. Bob Bugner's got no choice. Aiden Hill's not ready to come back yet. So you got to keep rolling with James Reimer at this point in time. Still have Carlson, LeBanc, some key cogs out. Rudolph's Balsers, who's been playing on the second line for San Jose, is also going to be out of the lineup tonight for them. So there's going to be some line juggling in this game for Bugner and the Sharks. It looks like we're going to see Dzingel moving to the left side of the second line with Logan Couture and Jonathan Dahlin. Barabanov with Hurdle and Meyer stays constant as the top line for the Sharks. You look at the Islanders. They beat Seattle. Obviously, they had that bad loss to Montreal at home, but they beat the Bruins 4-1 before that. So it continues to be inconsistent. I could only take the Islanders here. Let me make that very clear. San Jose is still bet against or nothing for me at this point in time. I definitely lean to the minus 135 with the Islanders. But man, 0-5 in their last 5 games after a win. I mean, it's just been constant with this team, not being able to string 2 good games together and 2 wins together in recent action for the New York Islanders. So that continues to be what I'm wrestling with here. I'd love to take the Islanders. I want to, but I don't like that stat that they just have not won 2 in a row for a good period of time. And now you got to lay $1.35 with this team on the road. I'm probably going to have to pass, quite honestly. Or you take Islanders in regulation, get a better price, which might be what I do, because I don't want to lay $1.35 with this group. I just take my chance that they win in regulation. You get a plus number on that, or you take the puck line and trust the Islanders to win by margin, which also isn't very easy thing to do. So maybe Islanders in regulation. I probably will get there with a small bet on that. And I certainly lean with their side, the New York Islanders. But boy, not easy when you see this team struggle at times to put 2 good games in a row together. What do you think here, Alex? Islanders and Sharks.
Yeah, we're thinking the same way, but I can't even trust them in regulation. This totally feels like it could be a game where Islanders win at 3-2 in overtime. So laying that getting that adjusted price means nothing, and the game goes to OT. But you don't feel comfortable enough to even back the draw because San Jose has just been in horrible form of late. So if I had to play something, it probably would be the draw. But I don't have to play anything. There's enough great spots on the board tonight. It's going to be a pass for me. But Islanders should win this game the way that San Jose has been playing. They've been in awful form. And if the Islanders, if they want to try to make this run to grabbing a wild card spot, these are the kind of games you got to win, and these are the kind of games you need to win in regulation. We talked about how games going to OT. You see that with divisional games when you're playing out of conference. You don't really care too much about what's going on with the other team. You just got to worry about what you're doing. This is definitely a game where the Islanders need to get 2 points on their own and not struggle with a struggling team right now in San Jose.
Yeah, that's the way it feels like. It feels like I should be on the Islanders. I probably will take them in regulation for something, but it's just not going to be anything more than just a small recreational bet to enjoy the game or try to enjoy the game. I don't know how great a game it's going to be quite honest with you, but try to enjoy it at least with the Islanders and the Sharks, as the Islanders, again, though, 5 straight games where they have dropped a game after winning the previous game. That does concern me here tonight for the New York Islanders tonight, even though I believe they should win this game. Dave in the chat asking, is the Rangers game an under? It's tough. It's tough in terms of the Rangers. I have no strong feel on it. I mean, it's 6. I'd lean maybe that way, but at the same time, Washington and the Rangers have had some crazy games too, where there's been an explosion for some reason with those two teams. So it's a tricky total.
My gut says no because I'm on the draw, and I can easily see it being 3-3 after 60. So
yeah,
that would be over.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that one's straight. Series history kind of makes me lean a little bit over, but again, with the Rangers, the one thing they're doing right now is they're trying to really tighten things up. They've done a good job of that. That was one of the main charges of Gerard Gallant, is trying to get them to play some much tighter hockey. But I can't deny the recent results. I mean, the last 5 meetings, guys, I'll read out the final scores: 5-1, 4-2, 6-3, 5-2, 5-4. I mean, it's been 6+ goals in every recent meeting. So it's over, actually, or Pat. Now that I see that, it would be over before under for me. Let me make that clear. It would be over before under for me based on that strong series history. But the Capitals or the Rangers are kind of trying to win games a little bit lower scoring right now. Dog of the day. You know what? I'm not on Florida. I'm not on many dogs tonight. So by default, my dog of the day is Columbus, believe it or not, at plus 330. And I'll probably put a couple. I will. Now that I've called it my dog of the day, I have to put a few bucks on it, and I will. I mean, we are talking, even with Florida off in a revenge, or not in a revenge spot, but off a loss to Nashville. And I know they clocked Columbus, 8-4 and 9-2 in the previous 2 head-to-head meetings this year. But, that price with Columbus and their just willingness to score goals right now and their ability to score goals right now can't be denied, plus 330 at that price. I mean, so by default, it's not that I love it. I wouldn't put your mortgage on it, and never would I recommend that or suggest that. But by default, that would be the top dog for me tonight.
Yeah, for me, it would be Minnesota.
Yeah, that's a consideration.
At plus 125, and that's a spot. Because with Columbus, like I said, that particular series history is awfully strong, especially when you're looking at 2 games in a season. It's rare that you get 2 blowouts between teams like that anymore, and be it divisional or conference opponents. So that's my trepidation toward Columbus. But I think Minnesota, that's 2 teams that really need a win, Minnesota and Toronto. And with Kokkonen in the net, who seems to be the stronger option, that would be my dog of the day. So, asking for that purpose.
Yeah, I agree too. Minnesota would be the number 2 choice for me behind Columbus. Even though I probably won't take Minnesota at all, and I'll probably just put a small bet on Columbus when it's all just because of the price here at plus 360, even as MDR says at MGM with Columbus. Just an incredible price there for an 8-2 team in their last 10 games. But the one concern about Minnesota tonight, sorry to say this, Terry, is everything from the Leafs is they're coming to play tonight. Whether they're good enough to win now is a different story altogether. And we have seen Minnesota kind of fumble away and piss away some games on the road lately. That does bother me. You didn't just lose 1 game to a mediocre Winnipeg team on the road recently. You lost twice to them on the road recently.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the thing why I like Minnesota here in this spot, is because of the fact that, this isn't Winnipeg. This isn't, a Ottawa team that's kind of.
This gets you amped up because it's Toronto.
This should get you amped up. Now, obviously, the one constant of these games we're talking about is that they've been played in Canada with the smaller crowds, and it's something we got to really kind of take into consideration. Especially look at Minnesota; they're a better home team. They've been playing to some super energetic crowds here in St. Paul. I know that for a fact. So when they do make these trips to Canadian teams and playing with the half capacity, the quarter capacity, it kind of takes away from them. But knowing that this is a Toronto team that, they're going to be gunning for them just in general, because they're a team that, obviously trying to get to where they need to go and coming off of a tough loss. I think the Wild are going to be just as geared up. I think they're going to be trying to treat this like a playoff game, even though it's a team that's out of division and out of conference.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so. I think there's the motivation shouldn't be lacking for a game like that. The Wild and the Leafs tonight, especially with both teams off losses previously. So that should be a good one of the highlight games of the night. And make sure you tune in again. If you love if you want a break from me and Cameron on the Ice Guys, that's reason enough to tune into the Betcast tonight, because I know I'm on this show every freaking day and I talk a lot. I get it. It's Ian overload a lot of times. So take advantage tonight. I'm not on the Betcast, but Andrew McInnis is. I think Alex will be joining.
I'll be on early. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be on it for a bunch. And make sure you do what same process. If you want to join us for this special Thursday edition of the Ice Guys Live Betcast, make sure you DM any one of them, Andrew or Alex. They'll make sure they send you a StreamYard link for the Betcast to appear on it during the Betcast tonight.
Yeah, because I know, Ian, you kind of deal with that a lot with the stream. So I'll be, even though I won't be on for the full stream, but anybody who wants to do that, DM me personally at AX Sports. I'll have that link, and then Andrew will have it as well. So the two of us will be kind of dealing with that throughout the night of getting people in and out.
Absolutely. So make sure you tune in. Great. And it's always fun. Live betting, watching the games, commenting on as we go. Bring your favorite adult beverage with you. We certainly, I'm never dry when I'm on that Betcast. I've always got some beer or something with me. That's my relaxed time. When I'm just watching the games at night, I'm always drinking anyway. So you just bring it on the Betcast with you. Absolutely. So make sure you tune in. Ice Guys Thursday night special edition, Thursday night live Betcast, 7 p.m. Eastern tonight, right here on the channel. It'll be a lot of fun as always. And it's also fun betting at DraftKings Sportsbook, our great partners here at the Hockey Podcast Network and the Ice Guys. NBA is back tonight. New customers can bet just $1 on any NBA team and get $150 in free bets if they win. It's that simple. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still take your shot at a big payday. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy basketball contests. DraftKings giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $1 on any NBA team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA and NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Minimum age and location requirements vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gaming resources. Void where prohibited. Minimum $5 deposit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up for an account. Use the promo code THPN. All right, it is best bet time to wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, just to reiterate what I was saying at the beginning of the show, I just want to thank everybody for the love and support. We've had over 200 viewers on the show today. And like I said, with the Betcast have been going really well. Everybody's been really enjoying that. So we just want to say thank you to everybody. My best bet, we're going to go with Washington and the Rangers. Draw plus 325. Rangers have been playing nothing but tight games left and right, no matter how good or bad the competition's been. And like I said, Washington's a team that's trying to get right there with them. So this is one of those games. Like I said, this is usually the spot. We saw it last night with Winnipeg, Dallas. Game was 2-2 with about 5 minutes left. Everything kind of grinded to a halt, and they settle things in the extra frame. I expect that from the Caps and Blue Shirts tonight. Let's go draw plus 325 is my best bet.
All right, there you go. Capitals, Rangers, draw plus 325. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. And just to reiterate, too, what Alex said, we want to grow this thing. 200 live viewers is phenomenal, but we're always thinking more. Let's get 250. Let's get 300. Let's get to a point where we have 500 live viewers at one point watching this show. I mean, it's been incredible growth already, but we're always looking to keep it growing. Hit the like button. That matters a lot. Make sure you do that. Hit that like button. It really goes a long way to helping out the show and the channel. And hit the subscribe button to the channel and tell anybody that's a hockey fan, even if they're casual hockey fan, even if they've seen all the commercials that are endless these days for DraftKings and Bet Rivers and all these different sports books, Caesars on television. I've seen JB Smoove too many times to count with Caesar Sportsbook. But if you know people that's like, hey, I was seeing all these sportsbook ads and starting to get an interest in betting and they like hockey, tell them about this show and this channel and get them to subscribe. It's a word of mouth type of industry we're in, and every little bit helps. There's no question about that. So, I mean, we're almost at 2,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel for the Ice Guys. So this has been incredible. Like, we started the season, we were just hit 1,000, I think,
Right,
at the
yep.
very beginning of the season. We're double that, and we're just barely halfway through the season right now. So great stuff. Keep the movement and the momentum going. We appreciate it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for the Ice Guys YouTube channel as well. My best bet, I'm going to go with, because it was going to be Columbus, Florida over 6.5. This is still a bet I like, but now it's 7 juiced. I'm going to change and go to something else in that same game. I'm going to take Columbus, Florida, both teams to score in the first period, plus 140. Great price. Bet365 has that price. There's all kinds of books that you can find that bet. Both teams to score in the first period, plus 140. I think it's with the way Columbus is lighting it up right now, and they've gotten off to fast starts offensively as well in some of these recent games. Florida definitely at home. You'd think off a loss, they're almost a shoo-in against JF Berube and the Columbus goal and the Columbus defense, to score a goal in the first period. So plus 140, both teams to score in the first period. Columbus, Florida, for my best bet for this Thursday NHL card. And that'll wrap up the Ice Guys for today. But join Alex, Andrew, and join a bunch of special guests that join the Betcast tonight as well, 7 p.m. Eastern, for a special Thursday live Ice Guys Betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. Join them for that. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And make sure you join Alex, Andrew, and company for the Betcast at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight, right here, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.